hi, Kati. Thank you very much for coming here and having you here in Bratislava, visiting us here. I'm really very proud of you coming and spending time here because you've been working with CIPD or for CIPD for a while, and there is a book which you just finished a short time ago,
Yes.
and this is the Learning and Development Practice in the Workplace. So Kati Beevers is the guest for this short interview today. And I would like to ask you several questions about how learning and development practice looks like in the UK at the moment, and what are basically the key things coming out from your research, which was based for this textbook for CIPD students. So,
Okay.
why is the L&D as such that's like a hot topic at the moment in the UK?
Well, for me, someone who's absolutely passionate about L&D, it's always been a hot topic, but I think recently, over the last decade, it's become even more of a hot topic. It's now becoming, I think, one of the most crucial sectors, not just in the UK but globally, and that's because we are facing skills shortages, we're facing rapidly changing economies, rapidly changing skill sets, and people are coming out of school without all the requirements, and so the burden is falling on organisations to compensate for those skills gaps, but also to keep things moving forward. We need a workforce that's agile, that can move, that can adapt, and that requires good quality learning and development.
Okay, that's clear that the companies need to invest and see L&D and workforce development as the priority, but how to make sure that this investment is really effective and they are not just spending money on something what is not bringing on the promise?
Absolutely, it's a very good question. It's the big question. It is a big investment. It should be a big investment because it's important. But I agree, organisations can't afford to throw money away. They want to know that money spent on learning and development and workforce development is effective. And so I think there's some sort of key points to think about in that. I could talk forever on how to make learning and development. In fact, the whole book is about how to make learning and development effective. But the key points really are, I would say, first of all, we need to be very clear why we're delivering learning and development, why we're providing learning and development. So often we deliver it because we've always done it this way and we do it, but it's so important that we work out why we're doing it, what's the need, what are we trying to achieve. And that doesn't mean just talking to one group of people or one person. It means identifying who your stakeholders are and talking to all of them, talking to the learners, the managers, maybe the customers, being very clear about what we are trying to achieve when we provide learning and development. The second part is obviously responding to that need. And again, that's about not finding the stuff that we delivered last year. It's about thinking, what's that need? How do we meet it? And it's about going back to basics, digging deep and looking at what content is needed if we're going to actually fulfill that need effectively. What new content is there? What updating is there? And doing a really thorough job of thinking about, here's our need, how do we meet it? So the first point is identifying the need. The second point is going quite deep in working out how you address that need. And the third part, and again, this is, my life's work in some way, is making sure that the people who deliver it know what they're doing, that they know their trade. So above all, we need L&D professionals to be excellent. We want excellent trainers out there.
Where to get the skill for the excellent trainer? There is not a school which would be developing the trainers as such. So where to get that magic of being impactful and really the trainer who helps the learners to get...
Yeah, we should be. We've stopped training our trainers as much as we used to. Trainer training was a huge industry at one time, and then it's kind of dissipated, but we need to be making sure our trainers are excellent. So to trainers out there, and to people who are developing trainers, I would say some things to think about. First of all, concentrate on the basics, the things I've talked about, knowing the need, working out the solution, and then evaluating. Evaluate. Is it working? Make sure all the time, complete that cycle. You know the training cycle? It's been around a long time, but it still works. Analyze, design, deliver, evaluate. Make use of the basics. But then there's the new stuff as well. If we're going to be proper learners and we're going to encourage our learners to learn, we've got to be leading edge. So that means as L&D professionals, we should be finding out about neuroscience. We should be using neuroscience, and we should also be making use of new technology. And in both those areas, there are things to think about. In neuroscience, for example, we know now that we need to get attention. We need to use certain techniques to gain attention of learners. We know that there's techniques about the brain. We need to think about the hydration of the brain. We need to think about spacing information. If you read about neuroscience, and again, chapters in there on neuroscience, making sure that the brain has time. We now know that people learn better from little and often rather than a huge amount of learning at once. They need it in little batches, little chunks of learning. Brain hydration, making connections, building on connections. Neuroscience has a lot to teach L&D people, and that's some of the new stuff. We've still got the psychology stuff we've always used, the learner preferences, the cognitive stuff, the social learning. There's all that there, but we need to think about neuroscience as well and what we can gain from that. And then the other area, I think, was technology.
Ah, yeah, that's a big one.
Technology. Can't avoid it. I'm afraid if you're going to be in L&D, you need to know what's happening with technology. So that means delivering new skill sets. It means going out and finding new resources. It means not always using PowerPoint, but looking at some of the other things that are out there, and there are other things out there. It also means developing new skills. It means being able to manage IT platforms. It means being able to multi-skill, so you're managing the software and the technology whilst also delivering a classroom, an online classroom. It means using your voice, because there's much more emphasis now on webinars, so we don't have the same kind of control in a group. We have to use our voice to control and inspire and motivate. So there are skills there. And also helping a group connect. Connection's so important in a group, and if you're doing that digitally, how are you going to make that work? So you have to think about synchronous things like the live classroom, but you also have to think about the asynchronous things like the forums and the social media, ways you can connect, LinkedIn, all the others, and make sure you develop those skills as an L&D professional to enable you to connect your group together, or your learner with the material. So there's a lot to learn, I'm afraid. It's not an easy choice of career these days.
So would you say that if someone is really a perfect trainer, used to be delivering really engaging classroom trainings, is it such an easy switch for such a person to be an effective digital trainer?
I think it is, but I think some of the best trainers in a face-to-face environment are sometimes their skills are thrown off because they're working in a digital environment, and that makes life difficult for them. So that multi-skilling, trying to manage the digital side of it, makes them lose some of the excellent skills they have there. So I would say either, if you have the resource, work with an IT professional. This is the luxury part of it. If you can get someone to look after the software and the technology and the platform side while you're doing the delivery, then you've cracked it. That's wonderful. But even then, you're still on the back foot a bit. You still really need those IT skills. So if you are a trainer, go out and learn how to deliver online. Go out and learn how to deliver a live classroom. Learn how to use social media to connect groups. Learn how to moderate a forum, because that's where we're going. That's where that's where L&D is heading. I don't think it's the only way it's heading, but if you're going to take L&D to the future, go out and get those IT management skills. You really need them.
Yeah.
Or make a very good friend of an IT professional.
There are some people who are thinking that everything would be digital and there would be only digital. So what's your view? Is it possible, or does digital provide that effective and efficient learning to individuals? Can we fully replace everything what we've been doing in the past in traditional way with digital?
Digital programs digital learning has so much to offer us. It gives us access, easy access. It gives us the facility for learners to manage their own timing, to manage their own depth of learning. It allows learners to provide their own materials. So we end up in a curating situation where learners are putting all the materials onto a platform, and the trainer becomes the curator of that material rather than the provider of it. So there's huge benefits to fully digital programs. And yes, I think there's a lot to be said for going wholly digital. But I have to say the caveat to that is that I go out and visit a lot of digital programs, and the feedback I get so often is that learners do miss that contact. Even with live online classrooms, they miss the contact. And it doesn't take much, maybe a few meetings. If it's possible, geographically it's not always possible. But when I ask people, one of the questions I always ask learners is, what was the best thing about this program? And I'd say 80% of the time, more than that, their response is, when I met with my classmates, when I got together with the tutor, when I had a coaching session. I've not quite worked this out, and maybe there's a whole master's program in working it out, but for some reason that contact matters an awful lot. So digital programs, yes, fantastic, go there, they're great, but if you can find a way of providing that contact as well, that just seems to be so important. I've not worked it out for myself yet, but I do know that learners ultimately love that connection and learn from each other as well, you know, which that's so important, being able to learn from each other.
For more information, probably we can get into your workbook and learn a little bit more, and hope to meet you at some of the events we would organize also in future, and would like having you as a speaker or as a friend.
Of course, I'd love to. It's great to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.